Everyone, good afternoon, good afternoon. I just wanted to come live and make a video on Glenn and mine experience at the Dreamville camping at Tomorrowland, and I promise you this will be the last thing I will be posting about Tomorrowland this year. But as you probably have seen, we're just two raving fans, not just of Tomorrowland, but of festivals in general. And I thought, it was a whole experience being on the camping, on the Dreamville camping. And I thought, we had to look up some information and tips and, how to navigate best our way and our time on the Dreamville camping. And I thought, let me just share how our weekend has went and provide some information and tips for whoever of you would like to experience the Dreamville camping too and hasn't experienced it yet. So I just wanted to share how it was for us and what, some tips could be if you would consider doing it yourself next year or in the years to come. So we went to the Dreamville camping not last weekend, but the weekend before that. And so anyone who knows a bit on how Tomorrowland works, so normally you have the 3 days of festival, you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but when you go to the camping, when you go to the Dreamville, that actually already starts as of Thursday morning, and as of the afternoon on Thursday, they already have like a little mini festival. They call it the Gathering at the Dreamville camping, so you already have a little bit of flavor of a festival on Thursday. So it's actually 4 days of fun, right? When you go to the camping, to the Dreamville. So we got tickets, I think in 2020 we got the tickets, and then the whole thing was canceled due to Corona. And we hadn't really intended to do the camping, but like after 2 years of being deprived of festivals, we were like, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna do it. We're gonna do 4 days of the camping. I'm like, damn, we're 40-ish. Are we still going to do this? Are we really going to go 4 days to a festival, to a camping? I don't know if I can even do that, if I'm physically capable of doing that, but you know what? We were just like, let's just give it a go. If the weather's okay, because that was a condition, if the weather's pretty okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna take it easy, but we're gonna do it, and we'll probably survive. So, one big tip that I want to give you is be prepared. Like, really prepare your stay at the camping. Make sure you have all the equipment that you need, because when you're in the Dreamville, it's the idea that you bring your own tent, you bring your own stuff. So there's nothing that you can have there. You can have tents that you buy right there and that you can sleep in, but that's a different formula. So we were at the Dreamville where you have to bring all your stuff yourself. So we got lucky with some friends who had a sleeping tent. We had some luck with friends who had like a party tent, and some stuff that we could take along. So what's really necessary, of course, is the tent. We really wanted to bring a party tent. And a party tent was really useful to actually put over our sleeping tent, because the first days we had a bit of rain and it just felt really comfortable to have the tent and have it dry, like under the party tent. So we had a big party tent. We had one 4.5 meters to 4.5 meters, like a square, and we put the tent underneath it so that if we would enter the tent or come out, we would always be dry. Love that. I don't like wet. So it was really good. And it was bigger than the tent, so we could have chairs and we could still sit under the tent and not be in the rain. So that was really, really nice. What I also saw a lot of people do, which is also fun when you're with a big group, that's that you have a party tent and you put all your sleeping tents with the entrance to the party tent, so that from the party tent you can go into your tent and they all come out in the party tent, and they would have a table under the party tent where they would join together. So if you're in a group, that's also a really nice setting to have. We didn't bring a table. We had just some chairs, and then we had our cooling boxes. So we brought some drinks and some food from home, which you can do, but you have to look into the rules because there's a limitation on the drinks that you can bring, and you can't bring glass. For instance, it has to be cans or like PET bottles. So you really need to pay some attention when you bring in all the food and the drinks. And then we just had I think we just had our clothing, and you know, some other practical stuff that we could think of. So we were quite prepared. The biggest preparation that we did was we studied the Dreamville like map. And what is really important is that there's different areas in the camping. So it's a really, really big camping site, and there's different zones. Like you have different zones in different colors, right? So you have like the red zone. The red zone is like the center of the camping. It's the center, and then you have like an orange zone and a green and a yellow and a purple zone that's like surrounding that, more at the you know, the out layer of the camping site. And so we were looking at this map, and Glenn was like, okay, we need to figure out where we want our tent to be in this zone, in this whole area, because we need to figure this out, what the best spot would be to put our tents, where there's not going to be too much noise and where we will have the best chance to get a good night's sleep. We're like, okay. So we studied the map, and we're like, okay, let's try to be somewhere at the outside of the terrain of the map, you know, have somewhere at the outside, and like in a zone that's a bit away from the whole red thing where all the, you know, the stuff is going on. So we figured, okay, the purple zone. We're gonna be in a purple zone. Okay, for Glenn this was a bit of a mind thing, because he's not for purple, like in the soccer Anderlecht purple. No, but you know, he got over it. He wanted to be in the purple zone. It was the best zone. So we were like, okay, no, he was like, okay, on Thursday, let's be there when the thing opens. We need to be one of the first so that we can hurry and we can pick our perfect spot in the purple zone. Like, okay, let's do that. So all things well, Thursday, we're packing in. We're actually 30 minutes like late. I was already a bit annoyed, like, we're gonna be late. The parking's already opened. We're not gonna be with the first. I'm like, chill, it'll be all right. You know, we're still very much with the first bunch. It will be okay. So we arrived, I think, around 10:30. So at 10, I think the parking opened, and then at 11 the site opened. So, you know, by the time we had unpacked the car and we were at the entrance was already open. By the way, we couldn't carry everything in one time. We had to go back and forth to the car. So a really good tip is get a really big carrier, something to put a lot of stuff in. So we actually borrowed from friends like a bit of a stroller for the kids, but it's like a really big one that you can hang to a bike, like a really big one. So we put the tent and the party tent and like the stuff that we needed to put up first, we put it in there. We put our coolers in there, and then we went for the first time. We went to set everything up, and then we would go back to the car and get the second load. Because it's, you know, it's a bit of a walk, so make sure you don't have to walk too many times, and you have something on wheels, because, you know, all this stuff weighs like it weighs a lot. So okay, we had our you know, stroller filled, went to the camping site, went to the entrance, we paused, we started walking on the camping site, and we first passed like the orange zone and the green zone, and I was like looking around, I was like, this is weird. There's no one in these zones. There's no one setting up their tent in these zones. This is weird. Like, I don't know. But you know, it started carrying on and it started walking, 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 orange, and then the red zone, because the purple was past the red zone. And I see the red zone like in the distance, and I see all of these tents like side by side, like, you know, sardines in a can, like all in this red zone. I see like this massive amount of tents, and I look at Glenn and I go like, huh? Why do they all want to be in the red zone? I mean, that's the like the party center. That's where you're not gonna sleep. Why do they all want to be in the red zone? And I was thinking like, these are all the 20ers. Like they will just want to party. I'm like, so we come closer, and then, you know, it kind of starts to bottle up, and we see some crew and stewards, and we were like, well, where's the purple zone? And like this girl, she looks back at us, she goes like, but you can't choose your zone. You just have to queue, and then you take your place. And we're like, what? Like, what? We can't be in the purple zone? What are you talking about? And it's like, yeah, no, you have to queue, and then, you know, we're like, oh no. So we looked at each other like, oh, we're so fucked. So we started queuing, and so what they do is, they start off with the red zone, and then they have this really, really long rope, and they hold it with a lot of crew, and then you have to queue at the rope, and then what they will do is then they will step back like 4 meters or something, and then in those 4 meters of grass that opens up, you can then put your stuff down, and you can say, okay, this is my spot. So we were queuing up like at the rope, and then they went back, and we're like, well, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be in the red zone. And we were like, okay, well, let's just keep, you know, we just kept standing at the rope, and we just kept walking and walking and walking. And we were like, you know, we'll never end up in the purple zone, because that was totally different place, and it would take hours before they would open up that zone. So that wasn't an option. So we just quickly accepted like, okay, we're screwed. We're going to be in the red zone. We'll have to make the best of it. Let's just take, you know, go for the best spot in the red zone. So what you have to understand is that these colored zones are like, you have a zone, and then they have on the grass, they have like with, you know, with the football, the football terrains, they also have like this white marker to mark the lines. So they, in the grass, they have like marked these spots that you can put your tent on, and the rest is like roads that you can walk on, that you have to, you know, leave free. So we could see like we were in the last square of the red zone, and we were just like on the rope, like talking like, where are we going to put our stuff? Like, it was like a bit of a race, like, where do we want to be? So we quickly figured like, we don't want to be next to the road, because we figured like next to the road, everyone's passing there, we don't want to be there, you know. And if you might have someone drunk and they fell over, they fall on your tent, we don't want that. So we didn't want to be next to a road, but we figured if we're like in the center of like a square like that, we might be pretty okay. But this thing, you know, it was so funny, because we were standing at that rope, and you really had people with like these, how do you call it, like 1 second tents, like these tents that if you take them out of the package, they just, and you let them loose, they just open. Like, you know those tents? You actually had people like, this crew would step back, and they would go like, they would just like throw their tent, and then the tent would go like, whoop, and they would be, ta-da, this is where I am. I'm like, what is this? Crazy. So, but we were like, oh my god, this goes so quickly, and we had a tent like the party tent of 4.5 at 4.5 meters. I was like, oh my God, Glenn, that's such a big space that we're gonna take, and we're just two people. Oh my, like my inner critic was like going, what are people going to say? They're gonna be mad at you for taking so much space. I was like, shut up. But luckily we had like this canvas to put on the grass that was kind of that size. So we were at the, at that rope with the crew, and they were going to step back, and we were like, okay, now it's our turn. This is going to be our spot. So we had the canvas like in our hands, and then they would move, and we would like run and spread the canvas like really quickly, like this massive square. Everyone was looking at us like, what are you guys going to do? We're like, sorry. Spread it out, put our stuff on there, and then like quickly open the party tent and start putting that tent together that we had never seen before. And we were opening it, we're like, shit, what's this? How does this work? Like, quickly look at the instruction, because everyone wants to claim their place. So everyone is like working very hard to put their stuff up. So that was really, really a very interesting experience. So we put up the solar tent. Went pretty okay. We had some help from the neighbors, which was really, really nice. We put up the solar tent. We put up then we put up the regular tent, which was really easy too. It went all really, really good. And then we just stopped and we looked around, and like everywhere we could see there were like tents, but like really close. We actually were like, how are we going to get away? Because everyone had like put their tent like almost like this much space in between. So we were lucky that our neighbors had a big party tent too, and the only way that we had was to go through their party tent and then step over, like almost over a tent, and then we could go to the road. So it's really funny. We were like almost closed in, but I guess that belongs to the charm of Tomorrowland. But the tip is, while setting up your tent, keep an eye on the rest so that they don't block you in, so that you could say, hey, could you just move a little bit, because we need to have some kind of passing to get out of this site. So quite funny. So what else to add to that? So what a really interesting thing too is, so we had a cooler for our drinks and some food, and I took like these cooling elements that you can take from the freezer, and they did last like a day and a half. And then another cooler, I just put ice cubes in it. I just put loose ice cube in it. It was a cooler filled with cans, so I could easily do that. And that actually kept longer. That actually kept our drinks cold for even more than 2 days. I'm not saying they were very cold anymore, but it was still doable. So that's a tip. What you also have is the first day at the camping. So on Thursday, you can buy 24 cans of beer for 24 euros, cooled. So for any one of you who would arrive at the site and you would not be able to bring drinks, you can still have the option to buy the beers pretty cheap and cooled right there. So instead of having to buy them from the stands, which of course is pretty, they're pretty expensive. So that's a good thing to know too, that you can buy, beer at the site. Before 4 p.m. you had to pick them up at a low price. So on Thursday, so there's a stage at the camping at the Dreamville. It's called the Gathering, which is a bit away from the part where your tent is. So it's a bit further. And it has all kind of DJs that come, so it's really, really fun too. So we went to visit that for a few hours. Was really nice, really fun. And then we went back to our tent around 11 on Thursday, because we wanted to be fully rested for the first day of Tomorrowland, on Friday. And so a good tip to sleep, is to take earplugs, and on top of that, if you have a headphones with noise cancellations, that's also a really good tip. It's a bit it's a bit hard to sleep, but it can help you to fall asleep. And of course, get a good mattress. There's by the way, you can get your mattresses inflated at the camping site, so you don't even have to bring your own stuff to inflate the mattresses. You can do it right there at the camping. Now, the first night, very interesting. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna have an issue sleeping at the camping site. I have no issue sleeping with noise. I normally never have that, so I wasn't really too bothered with not getting any sleep. Glenn was like more worried than I was. I was like, nah, I'll sleep, So around 11, we went to the tent. We went to bed, and around 4 o'clock, I was still awake. I was like, huh? Why can't I sleep? I was like, am I focusing on the noise? Because yes, there was music, you could hear it in the distance. There were people talking, there were people in their party tents nearby, and they were playing some music too, and they were talking, but normally it wouldn't keep me up, I easily fall asleep with that. Normally it's okay. So at 4 o'clock, I was still awake, and I think it's about 4 o'clock that I finally fell asleep, and then I woke up at 8 a.m. Again, and I was like, why couldn't I sleep? Because this is really a very bad indicator. If this is night 1, I'm gonna be screwed if I can't sleep. For several nights, I'm gonna be dead, right? So I was like, what happens? So what happens? This is what happens. So the night before, it was around 8 p.m. And we were going to the gathering, but I was already a bit tired because it's been a long day setting up the whole stuff. I was like, but Glenn was like, yeah, come, we're still going to the gathering. You know what? He popped out an energy drink, and he gave me half of a caffeine tablet. Caffeine, to keep you up. And he said, you know what? And, it's going to be a heavy weekend. I have some vitamin tablets. Here, take a vitamin. I'm like, okay, so energy drink. So we go to the gathering. And so the next morning I was like, Glenn, could it have been the caffeine tablet? Could that have thrown me off like that? But I was like, it was just half a tablet. Or was it the energy drink? But like, could it have really impacted me for so long? And so he looked at me and was like, just a second. So he went to search the vitamin tablets. So the vitamin tablets, they turned out to be energy booster tablets with ginseng, and it has a time span for energy for 8 hours. I'm like, what did you give me? So by accident, he actually gave me an energy booster that lasted 8 hours at 8 p.m. So no wonder I didn't sleep. So, but I could laugh at it. I was happy that I figured out what it was, and it wasn't me. So I was like all confident that Friday night I would sleep, and I did. I slept pretty okay for the rest of the weekend, but I was like, what? Give me an energy booster? Are you crazy? Tomorrow's the first day haven't slept, but okay, I managed. So to talk about the Dreamville and all the facilities, it's unbelievable. Really, it's unbelievable. So every color zone, like we were in the red zone, every zone has its district house. It's like a little building, and there you can inflate your mattresses. And actually also very good that's there is they have 2 big barbecues. Like at the district house, you have 2 big barbecues. So you can actually bring your barbecue meat and whatever and have a barbecue. So there were a lot of like groups who would, at different times during the day, would be there, you know, baking their meat and then having a barbecue. Really, really nice, really fun, really great option. And you also have to know that there's a supermarket. There's a whole supermarket at the camping site. It's like a Carrefour, I thought. We haven't entered it because we didn't really, we took everything from home. But you can go there, buy stuff, maybe even the barbecue meat. I don't know. We haven't entered, so I don't know if you can buy that there or you had to bring it from home. But it's incredible what they have. They have all these batteries to charge your phones. You can just rent it, and if it's depleted, you give it back and you get a new one. There's a whole camping store. Like if you forgot something, you could just buy it there. Like a sleeping bag, a pillow, I don't know, crazy. You could buy it there. What I realized was the nights were pretty cold. The nights were pretty chilly. So we had a big blanket. We had like our sweating pants, and like a big, you know, I had several layers. Actually, I had a big fleece, so that was, I really needed that because I would have been pretty cold without it. So I think it was around 14 or 16 degrees Celsius at night, so it really cooled down. But yeah, it was okay. But I saw some people at the camping store like buying additional stuff or like sleeping bags, probably because they were cold. But lucky thing they have it. Um, what else is there? So, you know, every zone also has its toilets and it has its showers. So, what you can do is you can have warm showers. So, that's in a big like tent also. They have these, you know, separate showers. You have to pay for it. It's like 2.5 pearls that you have to pay for that. And then you get your own shower, private, warm water. But there's a queue. There's like a really long queue. They are open a very long time, so you can start showering from, I thought it was like 6 a.m. and you can shower throughout the day, even like up until 2 midnight, so you could actually come back from the festival and still have a shower, which is also nice. But you know, every time there's quite a queue, so you have to, you know, take that into consideration that that is something that you will have to face unless you feel comfortable showering public. So they had these, like, it was really nice. They had like these it looked like flowers, like an outside shower, like on a platform. You would all just join in a circle and you would just shower outside. Now, of course, everyone wear their boxer shorts or their swimming suit, and they would shower like that, like just with the bikinis on. Um, and I was a bit afraid that it was really going to be like cold water, but it was okay. We were lucky that we had pretty good temperatures during the day. It was a pretty hot weekend, so we actually waited until 12 or 1 p.m. to go and shower, and the water would actually be kind of like, it was kind of warm. It wasn't the warmest, but it was okay. So, and you didn't really have to queue for that. So that was a really good alternative, and we used that. It was pretty dreadful with my long hair because like the water, the pressure isn't very big. So I was under it like a long time just to get all the shampoo out. But you know, it was okay. It was free. It was fun. So that's a good alternative. What else? Oh, they actually even have a hairdresser. They actually have a hairdresser. Like you could have your hair done like in these, how do you call it? They just, you know, they put all this stuff in your hair. Really fun. And you have also these places where you can get all the glitter and all the kabam. You could just, of course, pay it. But you can get all of that there. So really interesting. The camping site actually is bigger. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually bigger than the festival site. It's like, the only thing that's a bit of a pain is it's quite a walk. So it's, you know, it's quite a walk up into the festival side. Because you have in the camping site, you have the Dreamville, which is like the lowest budget because you bring everything yourself. And then you have the area where you can buy a tent. So the tent's already there. You just have to arrive and you know, claim the tent. And then you have the cabanas and you have the mansions. And of course, you know, those who pay more are closer to the festival. So we were like all at the back. So it was around, I think, a 30-minute walk. Someone said it was 3 kilometers. I don't know if that's correct, but perhaps it could be 3 kilometers. So going to the festival was okay. It was fun. You're excited. You know, sun is shining. It's okay. But when you return, you know, at 1 a.m. in the morning, it's a bit less fun. But you know, it is what it is. We survived. You know. So, but you have to consider that it's quite a walk. But it's always fun because they always have this kind of entertainment along the walking paths. So, you know, what they did was, I think it was on the distance of a kilometer or something, I don't know. They had these funny bikes. They had put funny bikes, like these bikes with strange steering wheels, or where you have to like move your feet backward to get forward, like these crazy bikes. They had put them there so people could jump on them and then, you know, go for the next stop where you had to then hand them over. It was like the funniest thing seeing people trying to ride those. But, you know, it's never dull. So that was a lot of fun. You know, another thing maybe interesting to know is on the breakfast. So at the Dreamville, you can either bring your own breakfast. You can go to the supermarket to get breakfast. There's even a bakery. There's a bakery too, but I don't know about the queues. I think you really have to queue to get some stuff when you want to do that. But there's also, you can get a breakfast from the Alpro. There's an Alpro corner where you can get an Alpro breakfast. I think you can just get one and queue, and then it's like breakfast based on Alpro. So it's smoothies, it's like a bowl with granola. But you can also order the breakfast up front. So once you have bought your tickets, at some point you will get the chance to order the breakfasts up front, so to buy them up front. And I think the Alpro breakfast was 14 euros. And then next to the Alpro breakfast, you have the farmhouse breakfast. And the farmhouse breakfast was 20 euros. Now, we had the Alpro breakfast the first Friday morning because the farmhouse was full. Wasn't too bad. You got a smoothie, you got a drink, like a coffee or a tea, and then we had a bowl of granola with some fruit. It wasn't too bad, but I thought it was pretty priced for 14 euros. And then on Saturday and Sunday we had the farmhouse breakfast. Now the farmhouse breakfast is wonderful. Like, it's really worth its 20 euros. What was it? It was like, you know, like a buffet breakfast. So you could have eggs, bacon, beans, pasta, waffles, pancakes. There were like these big buffets full of fruit, and I'm like, wow. Like, the fruit was like, you had blueberries, you had strawberries with mint, you had cherries, you had pears, apples, bananas, even I mean watermelon, and I'm still missing a few. So you had yogurt, you had a whole buffet with all different kind of bread, great coffee, bean coffee, you had fresh juices, water, like everything you need, really everything you need. And it is all you can, you know, you could just take as much as you wanted, eat as much as you wanted. You do have to choose a time slot. So you have a time slot of 2 hours that you have to choose. So either you choose from 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. I think you even had 12 to 2. I don't know. We had the time slot of 8 to 10. And because 10 to 12 wasn't available anymore. And we were actually quite lucky, I think, because the time slot from 10 to 12 was pretty... There were long queues to enter. So we were actually pretty pleased with the 8 to 10 time slot. We actually always went around 9. And that was just perfect. And then you get a certain colored bracelet. And then you can go in. But, you know, if your time has expired... then the color of your bracelet doesn't, you know, doesn't match anymore, and then you can't queue anymore for like the bacon and the eggs and the stuff. All the rest you can still take, but not like the bacon and the eggs and the waffles and the pancakes. But it was really good. It was really delicious, really wonderful. You know, I can only say, you know, to the crew of this whole organization, like, you guys really nail it. I mean, there was never anything short. There were always replenishing everything. There was never anything wrong. They were like the tables, they would clean them like instantly. The chairs, everything. They were so hard working. Like, I never saw one basket empty. They were just continuously filling up the stuff. I mean, really, just hands up for the crew of Tomorrowland, really. It was amazing. What we've also done, we also up front ordered a dinner at the main stage. Like, you have at the main stage, you have these buildings, and in one of the buildings you can go to the restaurant, and there's different that's for different budgets, because I know that you can also have like a really, really expensive course with a lot of different courses. That we didn't do. We just got a simple like meal, starter, main, dessert with accompanying drinks, which was really, really, you know, price was spot on. It was not too expensive, and the quality was amazing. It was really high restaurant quality. We were really received like we were very important. It was a lot of fun. It was a really cool experience. We had a really fun Uber. It was fun. So it's a good tip, especially when you are there for like the 3 days, to at least get one decent dinner in one of the restaurants. Definitely something I advise you to do. It's not too expensive and it's really delicious. But also you have to make sure that you buy it up front, because it's quickly sold out. So we did the restaurant at the main stage, but I think for, you know, the coming year, we definitely also want to try out the Mesa Garden, or one of the meat, the Brasa, like one of the meat restaurants. I think they're gonna be really, really good too. So I think that's about everything that I wanted to tell about Dreamville. I'm just thinking, am I forgetting something? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. The only thing maybe I could still add is I thought like on Monday, I thought it's gonna be chill. You know, we're gonna wake up, we're gonna take our time to break everything down, and we probably won't have to leave before like 4 p.m. or something. And so Glenn goes like, no, we have to be gone by noon. I'm like, what? What? Like, we're gonna be exhausted. Because, you know, on Sunday it's the last day, so you're going to go all out. We're like, we have to leave. We have to be packed, gone, away by noon. I was like, because we took around, I think, 3 hours to set everything up. I was like, oh my God. That's going to be tough. But at the end it was you know, it went pretty smooth because breaking down goes quicker than setting up, luckily. So we were kind of up around 8 o'clock because, you know, the sun is shining and there's light in the tent. So you know, we really didn't sleep any longer than 8. And we were pretty okay. We got some coffee and then we started breaking everything up. And I think we were in the car already about around 10:30. So that was pretty, it went pretty smooth, really. And apparently, but we haven't seen them because we were already gone. Apparently, at a certain point in time, they start to have these people drive around the camping scene and to really honk, to really, you know, get people awake to start moving to get the site cleared. The one thing that I also was very, very pleasantly surprised with was the fact that we went the second weekend and I thought that, you know, there has been already a weekend of camping. So I was like, oh my God, that site is probably going to be already kind of messy. Like the ground probably is going to be like yucky because, you know, there's already been a weekend. But when we arrived, I mean, it was, you couldn't tell that they had already had a weekend. Like the grass was like, it was long, it was green, it was like, I was really pleasantly surprised about the condition of the site. And I think those few days in between Monday and Thursday, the grass gets, or the you know, it gets the time to recover or something. But it was awesome. Really, it was really, really nice. So yeah, but I advise you to also bring like a canvas or like something you can place on the ground so you don't, you know, because I walk in my barefoot. I don't really like to be in the grass. Yeah, another tip. And I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say. If you would have any questions, things you would like to know about being into Dreamville camping, just put them below in the comments and I will be more than gladly to answer it. For us, it was a really, really good experience. The fun about it is that you are 4 days away from the world. You're 4 days like fully immersed in this party mode. And, you know, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. But, you know, you have to be willing to accept that there's gonna be people partying even throughout the night. There's gonna be some noise. There's gonna be some people talking. It's just, you know, that's what camping is. And you need to be okay with that. It was an amazing experience. I wouldn't have done it if it would have rained the whole weekend, because I wouldn't have loved that. Because now with the good weather, everything fell together with the showering outside and all that stuff. So that was great. It was actually even a bit too warm. But definitely we're going to do this again next year, if the weather allows it. Yeah, we're definitely gonna be there again. So even in your 40-ish, it's still a very nice thing to do. We were alone at the camping. We didn't have any friends, and that was a bit of a bummer. We did have, you know, of course we got to know some people around us. But we didn't have the most amazing click with everyone. So next year I definitely wanna have some friends who come along so that we can really have like a bit of a bigger site. We can have different tents. We can have one big party tent, because you could see these whole companies of friends. Some even had like 4 party tents, like all lined up, and they would have like a really long and big table, and they would gather around there and they would sit there for hours and playing games and having fun. So that just seems like a, you know, a blast. So I hope to have some friends who will join us next year, so we can also have even a better experience than we already had this year. So that's for me. That's the input that I wanted to give. Nothing to do with my business, nothing to do with my regular content. Just wanted to share this for everyone who is thinking about doing the Dreamville camping at Tomorrowland. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. We'll be happy to answer them. And, you know, wishing you an amazing day ahead. Bye bye, lovelies. Bye.